Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and there is no guest today. You just have me. But the topic is going to be something that if you're thinking about publishing a book in the future, or you may want to think about republishing it, and also how to avoid the problems with Amazon. So before we get started, I do want to remind you to go over and grab a copy of Breakthrough Author Magazine. You can find it at breakthroughauthormagazine.com. The subscription is completely free. And once you subscribe, it'll just drop it into your inbox on the first of every month. Now, the wonderful thing about the magazine is if you are in book development, if you are building a platform or getting ready to publish, there are lots of tips and tricks there from experts who not only build those for you or help you build them, but also most of them are published authors themselves. So they've been through this process, they understand how to do it. So again, breakthroughauthormagazine.com. If you're thinking about publishing a book, not quite sure, and you don't know how to build that platform in advance so you have an audience, I encourage you to go over and check out Author Traffic School. You can find it at authortrafficschool.com. We work with everyone from beginning businesses all the way up to people who are a little bit more digitally familiar, teaching them how to get up and get started, because books are sold online now. So you have to have a really strong online presence. So funny thing happened the other day. I usually listen to podcasts when I'm running in the office, just when I have spare time. That's sort of my entertainment these days, since I rarely watch TV. So many years ago, I believe back in 2016 or 2017, I subscribed to Chris Ducker. Now, Chris Ducker runs something called Youpreneur. He's very, very, very successful at this. And while I don't listen every day like I used to be quite a fangirl, but I don't know, outgrew it. I don't know what to say, why I don't listen all the time now. But this episode about Amazon and his experience with Amazon caught my eye, and I listened and I reached out and I got permission to share his podcast with you guys. So you'll find it in the show notes. Again, it's called Youpreneur. Now, what he was talking about in this is that while Chris Ducker is plenty big enough and has in the past gotten himself traditional publishing contracts, he actually went out and was having an event. And so he took a book for the event. It sold extremely well. And what he did with that book was he decided to publish it on Amazon. He needed it quickly. For those of you who have gone through the traditional track, it takes anywhere from 18 months to, I'm even hearing a couple of the places, 3 years now to go from getting that contract to publication. He wanted something, he wanted quickly. This was a really smart way for him to go, is putting it up in KDP Amazon. Now, back earlier this year, because I do want to make it clear that he's selling books. This is not somebody who published a book back in 2019, 2020, and really after the initial push didn't sell books. He mentions in the podcast that he sold a significant number. I believe it was over 3,000 books in January of 2023. So this book wasn't obsolete. It wasn't like it was still selling. He's been selling them all along after the initial push, but there was something going on, and this was a big push. All of a sudden, he got an email from Amazon. And basically, when you listen to the podcast, you'll understand the gist. They said, your account is canceled. We're holding your royalties that you earn. So with Amazon, you get paid 60 days after the close of the month. So when he got this in March, imagine that he'd sold over 3,000 books in January. The month closed. He should have gotten paid at the end of March 2023. But they decided to withhold those royalties. which right away, if that had been me, I would have gotten an attorney. He's an extremely patient man. I could tell this. He's irked, but he's patient, because I probably, knowing what I know about Amazon, would have gone straight to the attorney function of this. So they're withholding his money. They've told him that his book is being taken down and his account is being canceled, and he may never publish another book again. Wow. Think about that. That's crazy. So he has patiently gone through this process where he's written them emails. He's gotten canned answers. For anybody who's worked with Amazon, and I'm going to get into this, and it's probably not going to be popular, but from a publisher standpoint, Amazon is a nightmare. They consider themselves a publisher and they consider themselves a distributor. So we actually, the way we use Amazon as a publisher is much different from most other publishers out there. The first thing we do is we put our soft covers and many of our ebooks and our hardcovers, we use Lightning Source Ingram. But we take that Kindle file and we set it up under the author's name. Now, what makes us different in that sense is we don't take any of your back-end profits, so it doesn't bother us that we're setting up the Kindle in your name. We actually do it because Amazon plays so many games with books that are not published through them. And what I mean by that is the books will appear, they will disappear, the price will be reduced. No other platform that we use does that. No other distributor we use plays games like that. And it's mostly because they really honor the print on demand. And so they don't need to reduce the price. They can take their 55% and run, and it's great. So with that said, we used to set up for our authors, we still do, but we set it up under their current Amazon accounts. What we used to do was we would set up a Gmail account, and it might be JulietClarkAuthor@gmail.com. And we did that so that during the bestseller campaigns, Amazon would not play games with our product, because again, they usually don't bother their own product. So we would do that. And then as they're playing games, I could jump into the KDP and tell them, hey, we've got these things going on. So the reason that we used to do that with the separate email that was not your Amazon account was for several reasons. First of all, most entrepreneurs who write books, the tax information goes to their business, not their personal. So think about this. I have a personal account with Amazon. I jump on and I order, I don't know what I ordered last week, vacuum cleaner parts or whatever it was. I don't want that charged to my business account. So I've got credit cards inside my actual Amazon account. I've got shipping addresses. I've got everything inside my Amazon account for theoretically someone to go in, and if they went in there, to commit identification fraud, ID fraud. So when we were setting these up, we would go over and set up a Gmail. The information, the business information was put in, the tax information, the banking information, so our clients could get paid directly. And it would come out at the end of the year, the 1099 would be to our business, not to our personal. The other advantage of this is sometimes there was a credit card in that Gmail account that we had set up through KDP, sometimes not. It depended on if they were doing advertising or not. Our client, our book seller was doing advertising. So we had a good system going with that. My staff could go in, they could upload books, they could make adjustments, they could run the ads, and all of the client information that was in there had to be a text message if we went in that part of the account, which we never did. The problem is that they changed that about, I would say, a year and a half ago. Now we have to use our clients' Amazon accounts to do this, which is fine. We still go in and we put that other information. But here's the bad part. We now have your logins for Amazon. We now have access to your personal credit cards, to ordering stuff. There's all sorts of fraud that can take place now. And we did that. When we switched to that, it actually created a situation where I pulled that part of the business away from my staff. And it's not that I don't trust my staff, but anything that has to do with money has to go through me as the CEO of the company, which means that I don't give them access. I rarely have access. Our clients pay through QuickBooks or HoneyBooks. I never see a credit card. So there's no situation where someone, an author, can come back and say, Juliet, you defrauded me. You used my credit card. You stole this. You charged that, because we are blind to it. But now with the way Amazon is set up in your Amazon account, if I let my staff do that, they would have access to all of that. And that's not a good thing in the world of identity theft. It just isn't. So that's one of the changes that was made. And I suspect, I do not have actual data here, and neither does Mr. Ducker. And why do I say that? Because they will not tell him why they canceled his account. This very patient man has gone back and forth with Amazon, and they just send him canned stuff. He got a supervisor. He's still got canned messages. So this is a really bad situation. When Amazon goes in, they cancel your book and they say, never, 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 never. So I just sort of explained why we do this the way we do. And I really would love for you to go listen to Chris Ducker's episode of this, because I think you'll find he's been pretty darn patient with him. But what concerns me most is that holding of the royalties. If I held your royalties as your publisher, you'd sue me in a minute. If you had the kind of book sales that Mr. Ducker has, you would sue me in about 30 seconds. That's a significant, probably not to him a significant amount of money, but to most businesses, it's a good amount of money. So what is the lesson in all of this that I want to communicate to you guys? The lesson is, be sure you distribute with companies that won't do this. Amazon is famous for playing games. You guys, when I run an Amazon bestseller campaign, or when I put a book into my client accounts, and I see that games are being played with the soft covers and the hard covers coming in, I will jump in your name and write an email and say, hey, we've got a problem here. 10 out of 10 times they will come back and tell me it's my problem. I know damn well it's not my problem. It's them playing games. Then I go back to Ingram Lightning Source, and Ingram Lightning Source throws up their hands and they say, oh, we can't control Amazon. I actually have a disclosure in my contract now that says we cannot control what the distributors do. And it's just for Amazon, because none of the other distributors do this. So where I was going with that was, first of all, make sure that you have the broadest distribution as possible. Make sure that your publisher has you on Books A Million, in Apple, Nook, Barnes & Noble. Basic packages will get you in Barnes & Noble softcover and Amazon. Most basic packages will, but they won't have that Nook component. The Nook component comes from another distribution source that we put into place where we load your book. Be sure it's on Apple. Be sure it's on Google. Be sure it's in Walmart, Target, all those other places, libraries, academic. Make it available to as many as possible. When we use this other platform, your book goes out to over 100 distributors. And we can actually put in there, do not send to Amazon. And that's what we do, since we set up our own authors in Amazon Kindle for them to get their own money straight from Kindle. So that is the lesson from all of this. Make sure you're using a publisher, number one, that has the widest distributorship possible. Number two, understand And don't yell at your publisher when you see Amazon playing games. We literally have no control over them. I can't even stress that enough, that we have more control, no control. Here's another thing that really irks me about Amazon. And I understand from an accounting standpoint, but I don't understand from the standpoint of you have consumers that are very unhappy, is many times when we run a bestseller campaign, an Amazon bestseller campaign, we have enough sales that Amazon will order and warehouse our soft covers. Instead of returning them, which I think most authors would prefer, they will discount them. So I get calls at least, I don't know, a dozen times a year from an author who'll say, wait, my book is $19.99 and now it's selling for $6.99 on Amazon. That's because they warehoused your book. They bought your book. You got paid full boat royalty for it, but instead of returning it, they discounted on their end. You have to always remember that the distributors have 55% of the retail price to work with. So when they warehouse it, they're just giving up their profit. But it's irksome to an entrepreneurial author to have their book discounted. And the reason is it devalues their work. It makes their work unimportant. It makes their work seem like it's cheapened. So keep in mind all of this when you are working with a publisher, or even when you publish a book yourself. There's so many ins and outs of the publishing business, the back end of it, that you don't understand. And I understand when my authors call and they're really upset, that it's because they don't understand the back end of it. As much as we disclose, there is still that back end that you guys don't understand. Most of you as entrepreneurs, you're in the business of your expertise, not my expertise. So it really is important. And because of that, we have developed a disclosure process the whole way along. So when we go to print, you understand that these changes are going to cost you money. When you go to print, you understand that we do not have any control over what Amazon does. We think their business practices are abysmal, but people sell books there. The other thing is the royalties. We get down and we explain the royalties. This is how it works. This is when you will get paid. And still, even with the disclosures, people come back and they'll go, oh, I got a statement, but I didn't get paid. So, I have to tell them, let's go through this again so you can see. So I'm going to put Chris Ducker's podcast into the show notes. I encourage you guys to go listen to it, because the thing that I heard, and I hate to say this, when I heard him describing what was going on, I heard for probably the first time that now Amazon is willing to mess with their own customers, which is a shame. It really is, because it's not good customer service. And Amazon has never had good customer service. You get a lot of canned messages. You get a lot of new people. I mean, think about this. That customer service, if I had to guess, that might be a minimum wage to $20 an hour job. They probably go through a lot of people. They don't understand the book industry. They don't understand anything. It's literally like my 20-year-old kid going in and go, yeah, I work at Amazon. And he knows nothing about the world. He knows nothing about customer service. It doesn't seem like they're trained. So that's one of the lessons. The other lesson is when you listen to this, you're going to hear the frustration that us publishers go through every single day with Amazon. I would say, and I'm going to give you guys a baseline here. When I started this company in 2010, I rarely, and I mean rarely, had a customer service complaint to Lightning Source. Everything was taken care of. I maybe talked to them, and this is when I could pick up the phone and actually talk to them and get a problem solved in real time, maybe twice a year. And even conceding that we have grown tremendously throughout that time, Amazon has become the worst ever. When we go to Lightning Source, we literally have to do it by email now. It used to be in 2020. I believe they went to chat. In 2019, it went from phone to chat. Chat was okay. You still got somebody in real time. Now it's email. They promise within, I think it's 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes I get an answer like a week later. And we're trying to release a book. So everybody in the system is overwhelmed. But what happens is we get this disconnect between Ingram Lightning Source and Amazon. And I literally get to the point where I have to share the emails that they're both giving me and saying, somebody solve this before I have to get an attorney involved. So please go listen to Chris Ducker's podcast. I hope this was helpful in understanding how unhelpful it is for you to publish your own books on Amazon, because you don't know the rules, you don't know the industry, and you really do need professional help. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week.